So to get started on the chevron stitch, we are going to make not a super long chain, but I have made quite a long chain. The stitch calls for multiples of 25 plus 5. So I have chained 55 to get me going. So create your foundation chain in multiples of 25 plus 5, and I'll meet you back once you're ready to start the stitch. So once we're ready to start our stitch, we are going to be working in single crochet. Now if you are a UK crocheter and you use UK crochet terminology, this for you is a double crochet, but I will leave a link for a conversion chart in the description box below. But for the purposes of this tutorial, I will be using US crochet terms. So we're going to skip the first stitch here and we're going to go straight into that second chain from the hook with a single crochet, single crochet, I'm using US terms. And into the next one with a single crochet. So you'll have 2 single crochets. Then we're going to skip the next chain and we're going to work into that. So just skip one chain and we're going to work into that second chain with a single crochet. And we're going to create a section of 11 single crochet, and that counts as number 1, the first single crochet after that missed chain space. So 10 more along the row, single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, it's getting in the way, sorry, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11. And then in the next chain we're going to create the peak of our chevron. So we're going to place 3 double crochet into the same space, 3 single crochet, sorry, can't get out of that habit today, I don't know what's wrong with me. 3 single crochet into that next chain space, so all into the same space, 1 into the same space for 2 and into the same space for 3. Then we're going to create in the next 11 chain spaces 11 more single crochet to bring us back down off that peak and match this side. So 11 single crochet into the next 11 chain spaces, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And just like at the beginning where we skipped 1 and then started to build our chevron, we're going to skip some chains here to match that. So at the beginning and at the end we always skip 1 chain. Any chevrons that you're building in the middle of your work, we skip 2 chain spaces. So we're skipping 1 and 2 and working into that 3rd chain along with a single crochet to start our chevron again. So we're working back up, so we're doing 11 more single crochet until we reach the peak. So that counts as 1 stitch that we've just made. I'll let you go, pause the video, make 10 more stitches and then meet me back and we'll go over the peak of the chevron again. So I've made my 11 single crochets and my next stitch here I'm going to create a peak again. So I'm going to do 3 single crochets into the same chain space. So 1, 2 into the same space and 3. And then I'm going to create 11 more single crochets into the next 11 spaces. And if you've done your foundation chain correctly, you should have 3 chain spaces left after your 11. So pause the video, create your 11 stitches and I'll meet you back just before the end. I'm almost at the end of my row. I have 3 chain spaces left. So just like at the beginning, we're going to skip one and then do 2 single crochet into the last 2 chain spaces. So skip this one here, into that second one, work a single crochet, and into the last one a single crochet. Then we're going to chain 1, tighten up that stitch, chain 1 and get started on row 2. So we're going to start row 2 in exactly the same way as we started row 1. So we're going to start with 2 single crochets and then we're going to skip a chain. So our first single crochet goes in that first stitch here, almost at the bottom of your chain 1. So insert in there for a single crochet and into the next stitch as well. Then we're going to skip a chain here, a stitch, sorry, skip one, and then we're going to do 11 single crochets and we should be almost up to our peak once we've created those 11. So pause the video, create your 11 single crochets and I'll meet you back at the peak of our chevron. Once you have created 11 stitches, we should be at the peak of our work, and just like before we are going to do 3 single crochets into that one stitch or chain space. 1, 2 and 3, and that creates another peak. And then we are going to do 11 stitches back down until we get to our trough, just like we did before. So 11 single crochets back down, and I'll meet you there and go over how just to move on to the next chevron. So once you have made 11 single crochets and you're at the trough of your chevron, the dip, then we're going to, just like the row before, skip the next 2 chains and work a single crochet into the next space. So it'll be the 3rd chain along. That counts as number 1. Then you need to do 10 more till you get to the top, so sections of 11. So if you can just go ahead, I'm going to leave you, trust you, to pause and rewind the video if you need to. Work 11 up to the top, 3 in the peak of your chevron, and then work 11 back down, and I'll meet you over this side just to go over how we finish off our work again. So I have reached nearly the end of my row. I have 3 stitches left, which is correct after coming down this chevron with 11 single crochets. So just like we did at the start, I'm going to skip this stitch and I'm going to work 1 single crochet into the last 2 stitches here. 1, 2. I'm not going to finish this with my grey, my working yarn. I'm going to yarn over with a new colour, just so you can see how to bring in new colours into this stitch. So I'm going to hold my pink as if it was my working yarn. I'm going to yarn over and pull through there, and then I'm going to chain 1 and turn. Then you can cut off your old working yarn, your grey yarn, and then you can start working with your new yarn. So just like before, chain 1 to turn and then work 2 single crochet into the first 2 stitches of the row, and the first stitch of the row is just below that chain 1, so the very first stitch there. So insert into there for 1 and in the next one for 2. Pull that down a bit so that stitch is a bit tighter. Then we're going to skip a chain here, a stitch, sorry, and then we're going to work 11 single crochets all the way to our peak. It's a really simple pattern repeat once you get your head around counting to 11 every time, which for me seems like a lot. You don't normally count in multiples of 11 when you create a pattern, but it works really nicely. So I'm going to go away, I'm going to build this, and then I'm going to come back and show you what it looks like when it's built up using exactly the same method to build my work. So if you would like a refresher, pause and rewind the video, refresh yourself, and then go ahead and make your beautiful swatch. So as you can see here, my chevron is taking shape. I've done 2 rows of the grey, then 2 rows of pink and 2 rows of grey again, and I'm just keeping it in even rows so all my ends are on one side. But yeah, so as you can see, the dip at the end helps to give it a nice straight edge, which works really well. And I have done 2 multiples of 25 plus 5, so I chained 55 for this project. If you'd like it wider, just keep chaining in multiples of 25 and then add 5 at the end. But it works really nice for things like scarves or blankets, and it's a really quite a dense stitch as well, so really close together, which will keep all the warmth in if you're making something like that. So anyway, that's it for this stitch. Really simple one. Looks more complicated than it actually is to stitch, I think. Just remember multiples of 11 for each up and down. So I'll leave that with you. If you liked this video, then please give it a massive thumbs up and leave me a comment below, and subscribe to my channel to let me know that you'd love me to make more content. I'll catch you on the next one.